I, 27, am the middle daughter in our family. I have two sisters, Kelly, 30, and Rachel, 25. We lost Kelly to cancer in 2019. It was the biggest tragedy. She left behind her twin boys, 7, and husband, brother-in-law Joseph, 30. He used to spend a lot of time at my parents' to get help with the kids. Rachel then moved out and kept her distance for a few months. 2 months ago, we were at my parents' house when Rachel and Joseph got up and announced that they were engaged. To say that we were shocked is an understatement, but my parents said nothing after Joseph explained that Rachel helped him in his darkest times and comforted him a lot since they were both connected to Kelly's passing. I just left with my husband as Rachel started crying after I called her disgusting to her face to do this to our sister. When things calmed down, I actually received an invitation to Rachel and Joseph's wedding while asking for my approval and blessing. My husband laughed, saying these two were legitimately mentally unstable to carry on with this, and I couldn't believe it either. I returned it immediately and refused to give my approval, which caused Rachel to go on social media, crying about how I mistreated her after she sacrificed her job and her life to shelter her nephews and help them live stable lives and make sure they don't get stuck with an evil stepmother who might aid them. Basically, saying she's doing this for her nephews to be able to grow up and stay close to family. My parents visited to talk and started praising Rachel for all of her sacrifices and good deeds by looking after the kids, and asked that I finally approve of their marriage and attend the wedding. But I lost it on them, asking if they ever thought what Rachel did was okay. What about Kelly? Would she have wanted her sister to take her place? My God, the kids. What about the kids? How do they even feel about this? Who's Rachel to them now? Auntie? Mom? Stepmom? All three? And they think they won't be confused and angry their own aunt took their mother's place. If you're saying you're just trying to keep the family together, the family is already divided, and I won't be surprised if my nephews cut contact when they're old enough to do so. Mom said my behavior was disgraceful and argued I was wrong in most of the points I made, and called me judgmental and bitter to decide to guilt Rachel for stepping up to take on the role of the mother, and said I was selfish to judge my grieving sister and brother-in-law after I questioned the length of their relationship, cause if this was happening while Kelly was alive and sick, then I'm speechless. But if it was happening in the past few months, then neither Joseph nor Rachel are thinking rationally. We went on for hours arguing, then they left. I told my husband to block Joseph, but Rachel reached out via SM, saying I'm making her feel guilty with my stance and disapproval of her relationship, and said I was making it hard for her and the kids when she's trying to bring the family together. Jesus, yes, the a-hole. You've lost one sister and are actively trying to drive the other away. There is no hint of cheating, aside from in your head. These are both grieving people who have bonded over shared pain. The only problem here is you. Stop coming up with reasons why it's so wrong and find out why you are really angry. Also, you say, what will the kids think? Have you even bothered to ask them? Or are you just weaponizing them? My best friend Caroline is married to Derek. For full transparency, me and Derek dated for 2 months when we were 18, but ultimately broke it off because he wanted to have S, and I wasn't ready to take that step. He got with Caroline over 2 years later, and she asked me if it was okay for them to date, and I gave her my blessing. So there's no bad blood between the three of us. My fiance also knows about our history together and is okay with me maintaining a friendship with Derek. My fiance proposed to me last year, and ever since, it seems like Derek sees our relationship as a competition with his. He's also made weird remarks about our past, since which have made things awkward between all of us at times. Some examples. My fiance is a lawyer, and now Derek is determined to go to law school, despite mocking the profession multiple times. Caroline has been begging him not to, as they can't afford the financial burden of law school, but he made jokes about how he was going to be a better lawyer than my fiance. My fiance shrugged it off and offered to help him if he chose to actually pursue law, which pissed Derek off for some reason. Caroline and Derek were child-free by choice. Me and Caroline were talking about kids, and I mentioned we were planning to have at least 2, and now she says Derek has been hounding her to change her mind about being child-free and having a kid before us. I was over at Caroline's house, since she's going to be my maid of honor, and she was helping me with the early stages of planning the wedding, when Derek came home. He now wants to do a vow renewal with Caroline at the same location we were hoping to use. I don't really care about the location, but Caroline had been begging him to do a vow renewal when they got to their 10th wedding anniversary, but he said the idea was dumb and was very against it, so the sudden change of heart is weird. If we mention we're going to do something, Derek always has to find a way to one-up us. For example, we mentioned I was going to get a new car since my old one is starting to have a lot of problems recently. Derek went and bought Caroline a new car that was more expensive than the model we were talking about. She was pissed because she didn't need a new car and it was really expensive. Caroline has noticed this weird competition Derek is trying to force on us all too. However, she's blaming my fiancé. She asked me to tell him to stop showing off. He doesn't. And goading Derek. Again, he doesn't. I tried to explain the problem was Derek, but she just gets defensive and angry. How can I discuss this with Caroline without both of our emotions getting in the way? Is there a way to get Derek to stop this? I honestly don't get what he's gaining from being like this, since he's known my fiancé for 5 years now, and they've never had a problem before. Tell Caroline you and your fiancé are doing couples therapy twice a week. Hopefully, Derek one-ups you again, and they go 3 times a week, and he can get the help he obviously needs. Derek has this idea that he still wants you, or at least wants you to regret not choosing him. And poor Caroline has to watch and pretend she doesn't see her husband making an immature fool of himself. Of course, Derek is an idiot for thinking he can somehow win over your fiancé. Your fiancé rightly doesn't give a crap, and Caroline deserves better. This involves most of our immediate family. My now wife, Katrina, has always raised questions from my family, mainly, I believe, because of her appearance and how she carries herself. She is very slender and tall, and almost always dressed up, looking fashionable for any occasion. This is just how she's always been. She loves feeling real feminine and taking care of herself. Some females in my family, my mom especially, would gossip about her and claim she's obsessed with herself, and attention W, vain or cocky, and how I can do better. I had to warn them to stop or I would cut contact, and that threat set things straight for a bit. But I could still sense they didn't like her, for whatever reason. On the night that we announced our engagement, we invited everyone over for a meal and drinks. That's the night her ring mysteriously went missing. After much searching, we never found it, and I had to buy her another one. On our actual wedding day, the catering company was late. They said we had rescheduled when in fact we didn't. Someone tripped and fell into the bar, causing the drinks to go everywhere. Some people brought their small children, even though we had strictly said we didn't want any children below the age of 8, and my little niece threw up on my wife's dress. It was a horrible day of screaming kids, but at least we managed to exchange vows and seal the marriage. This was about a month ago. Yesterday, I got a call from my little brothers, 15 and 17, saying they had something important to tell me, and they were on their way over. They said it was something they were feeling extremely guilty about and wanted to get it off their chest. So when they got here, they flat out told me that Mom made everyone do all that stuff on purpose, except for the baby throwing up. One of my little brothers stole her ring. Mom gave them each some money to do this. Aunt had fell into the bar on purpose, and Mom actually was the one who rescheduled the catering and told people they could bring their kids. Some other people in my family knew and just played along. I'm beyond pissed. I'm hurt that my little bros of all people could do something like this. But for the rest of my family, it's just pure anger. I don't understand why they'd want to do this, even if they don't like Katrina. This was our special day, and it was purposefully ruined by my own family. I don't know what to tell my wife. Right now, I can't even call and talk to anyone because I feel like I'll explode. And I told my little brothers to immediately leave because I felt like punching them. Where do I go from here? Even a day later, I still can't wrap my head around this. Forgive your brothers. They're still kids, and it sounds like your mother coerced them into doing this. They obviously felt guilty because they went against your mother and fessed up. I think you need to calmly explain to your wife what happened and apologize to her on behalf of your family. Your mom absolutely owes you the cost of that ring, and probably the cost of a whole new damn wedding. That is incredibly sad that your parent would act so childishly to ruin your day. It sounds like you need to cut contact with the family involved. I know that might be incredibly hard, but what they did was sick and disturbed, and they all need serious help. I'm so sorry your family betrayed you and your wife. Backstory: I cheated on my ex-wife a few years ago, back when we had already been dating a year. Had a drunk one-night stand, then told her what happened. She decided she wanted to work on getting past this betrayal I committed. 2 years later, we got married. Already had our son and daughter, twins. We didn't even make it our first year though, when I found out the woman I slept with had my son we didn't know about. And that was too much for my ex, and we divorced because I wanted to be part of my son's life. It's been a few years now. My ex and I keep it civil for the most part, but don't interact much if we don't have to. And my kids get along great. My son adores my youngest, and they really look up to him. The twins turned 6 a week ago. We had a party at my house to celebrate. Usually, we do parties separately, but since this year my ex doesn't have enough money for her own party, she wanted to attend the one at my house. I told her that was fine, but gave a heads up my son will be there. She hasn't seen him at all since we found out about him. My ex wasn't happy with that. She asked why was it necessary that he be there. I told her like it was obvious, because he's our kid's brother, and what kid doesn't want to go to a party? She asked me not to bring him because she'd really like to be there for the twins. Didn't see that as fair to my son, since he's already invited, and what happened wasn't his fault. I told her she could come before his mom drops him off, because he's supposed to spend the night with me after that. We were all going to go to my parents' house the next day. We got into a huge argument because she wants to be there for the kids, but I wouldn't uninvite my son. She didn't end up going. Got told off by her and my ex-mother-in-law because she wanted to be there for our kids, but I wasn't being considerate of how him being there would affect her. And that's why they think I was an a-hole, for not keeping my son from going, so that she could spend that time with the kids. Am I the a-hole? Not the a-hole. What you did was messed up, but it's in the past, and a young boy shouldn't have to suffer for it. He has the right to be there for the party you're throwing for his siblings during your custody time. My brother and my sister-in-law broke up. They were a on and off couple since they were 15, which means I know my sister-in-law since I was 3 years old and know her for a really long time. I'm 32 and got married when I was around 14 or 15. They have 3 kids together. My brother has one with another woman while the marriage, and another one on the way with someone else, and a house. Imagine my shock when my brother told me that they broke up about a year ago, but hasn't told anyone because they wanted to clear things up before telling everyone, and now he is demanding I stop all contact with her because I'm a part of his family, not hers. I know her for so long, and I can't imagine her not being part of my family anymore. She is the mother of my niece and nephews and the aunt of my 2 kids. I declined. He threw a fit. Basically, he was a total a-hole to her. Trying to throw her out of my family, talking bad about her, still having S with her and keeping her hopes up. All this BS made me really sick, but my sister-in-law didn't want to give up on them. He told me that he already has a new girlfriend for half a year. My sister-in-law didn't know about, and he had S with both of them without them knowing, and wants to bring her into the family. The moment we met her, he tells the whole family, my mother, my kids, my boyfriend, etc., that she is pregnant, and we aren't allowed to tell my sister-in-law. The point is, my brother didn't want my sister-in-law to know that because she was about to agree to split the house, 1/3 her, rest his, and he knew she would try to take it away from him if my sister-in-law would find out about the girlfriend and the pregnancy. He always says that he didn't want to have another child, but impregnated his girlfriend 4 times. She lost 3 of them. Because he tormented my sister-in-law so much over and over and refused to tell her the truth and forbid us to have contact with her, I chose to step forward, meet my sister-in-law, even though my brother forbid it, and told her the truth. He is now trying to turn the whole family against me and even threatens me to get revenge for this. But am I the a-hole for telling my sister-in-law the truth? Not the a-hole. He made his choices, and they have consequences. I don't know why the question of you're the a-hole or not is even up for debate given his behavior. You love her like family, and you should, because she is. I do love her, and always saw her as part of my family. I still do. Until this point, I always had a good relationship with my brother, and him threatening me breaks my heart. But I couldn't just stand there and watch. Not again. When he got his first child from another woman, everyone knew, and no one had the courage to stand up against my brother and tell her. Because he forbid to tell her and can be really intimidating. My sister-in-law found out the moment the child was born, and my brother had to pay child support. This time, I wanted to show my sister-in-law that she is not alone and wouldn't be left in the dark again. But my brother and my family are arguing against me, saying I should have waited a little longer to give my brother the time to tell my sister-in-law himself. His girlfriend should give birth in a few weeks, and this whole situation was already going on for too long.